Hello, my name is Sarah Schroeder and I'm the Senior EPR Data Quality Training Facilitator for Education at Bradford Teaching Hospitals. In this video, I will be providing you an overview of the EPR Capacity Management application, and within this, the objectives we will be covering is how to personalise your own view, an overview of the bedboard, as well as how to set a custom location. All SOPs for this process can be found via the EPR SOPs desktop icon once you've double-clicked onto the icon and navigated through to the appropriate trust. You can either locate the appropriate SOP by going into the applicable section, or you can do a document quick search located at the top of the screen. All titles for the SOPs covered within this video will be provided in the description box below, as well as timestamps if you wish to skip to this section. Capacity management is a bed management application which allows us a full view of all of the inpatient activity across the hospital. One of the views that we have within capacity management is a selection of what is known as gadgets. These are the tabs that you can see both in the top section of the screen, and we have two in the bottom section as well. One of the first personalizations that you can do once you get access to capacity management is to add and remove these gadgets depending on the nature of your job role and which gadgets you actually require. To do this, I'm going to come to my personalization toolbar located in the top of the screen, hover over my gadgets, and you can see we have some of these already selected, which are the ones that are already currently in my view. If I needed to remove one of these, I can simply deselect it and equipment list has now disappeared off my screen. Now you can add this back in if you did decide that that was an accident or you decided that you needed this later on within your role. So I'm going to come back to my gadgets, select this, and it is easily added back in. Now you will notice this has gone to the bottom of my screen, which I do actually want it in the top. So you can move any of these gadgets to any location within your screen. And I'm going to add this back in to the top like so. So that is the first personalization that you can do within capacity management. We have three views within capacity management. The view that I'm currently viewing is the ward view, which we can see the tab for this located in the top of my screen. The second view that we have is capacity metrics. Capacity metrics is an overview of the metrics for the specific location that I'm viewing. So we have the average length of stay, bed utilization percentage, how many transfers in and out, any housekeeping and portering jobs, as well as discharges, which we have one pending. Coming into the dispatched jobs, we have two gadgets within here. We have the housekeeping as well as the portering. Any task that we request either a housekeeper or a porter to complete, we will be able to view these tasks within here. This allows us to either cancel a task that we may not require anymore, or we can see if the task has actually been allocated to a porter, for example. Coming back into the ward view, we have the gadgets that we've previously been through in terms of how to add and remove these gadgets, but I just want to quickly go through what each of these gadgets actually do. The first gadget that we have is the pre-admit list. The pre-admit list is where we would do all of our acute admissions. We've got two versions of this. We can either do a pre-admission, and this is for patients that are not actually here yet, but they are on the way into the hospital. But we also have full acute admissions. So these are for patients that are already here, and we need to fully admit them into an inpatient location. Coming into the transfer list, this is not only transfers around the hospital as a whole, but it is also transfers from accident and emergency, and this is also where we would admit our elective admissions. The discharge list will show the exact status of the patient's discharge. So whether we have an estimated discharge date at the moment, whether they have been marked medically stable for discharge, whether they have fully departed from the hospital, it will show all of this information. Appointment list. This is where we would be able to view any outpatient appointments such as ward tenders, and this is for the purpose of requesting a porter if one was required. Equipment list will allow us to request a porter specifically to move equipment. So it could be that we need specimens collecting from a ward. It could be that we need a bed moving or a mattress bringing to the ward. Various different tasks, we can request that from here. The bedboard and patient list at the bottom of the screen is the view of the location that I'm currently selected on from my location bar. At the moment, I am viewing all of Bradford Royal Infirmary, but I can drill this down further by selecting a specific ward. Now, to select the location that we need, you would first select your building icon. I am just going to continue with my Bradford Royal Infirmary view, but you will then notice that we do have an arrow which allows us to drill the location down further to the specific ward that we need to be able to see. And you can now see that this is the ward that I'm currently viewing in the bottom of my screen. Now, depending on where you work within the hospital would also depend on the location that you need. At the moment, the only two options I have available is to either view the entire facility or just view the specific ward in question. So if I worked on two specific wards, such as Ward 10 and Ward 11, this may cause issues because I would have to constantly flick between the two different wards. Now, for this reason, you are able to create what is called a custom location, and this allows us to add the specific wards, multiple wards, into my custom location so I can see these at the exact same time. To create a custom location, I'm going to come to the star symbol with a plus icon and add custom location favorite. You will need to create a name for this list. So I'm just going to call mine training. Coming into the locations, I'm obviously basing myself at Bradford Royal Infirmary today. And you can see that I'm just using these arrows just to expand my locations. Now I am just going to keep it simple and say that I need Ward 10 and Ward 11. So I'm going to select the ward and add, and then repeat this for Ward 11. So I've named it, I've added my wards in. I'm just going to save that by pressing OK. Now that I have that custom location created, I'm going to come to the next symbol, which is the list of my custom locations. So you can see that you can actually have multiple custom locations, not just the one location. So now that I've got that custom location selected, I can see the two wards in the bottom of my screen. Okay, so in terms of the bedboard itself, the first thing we have is a selection of filters. Now I'm just going to drag this screen up slightly just to make it easier for you to be able to see what we're looking at. So these are filters. So if I was just looking at the capacity of the wards, I only wanted to be able to see which beds are available or which beds are going to be coming available very soon. So I can select available, and it's hidden all of the occupied beds. I can also see that there is one bed that is dirty. So I'm just going to select that as well, because as soon as that's clean, that bed's going to be available as well. If I needed to bring all of my beds back into my view, I can click clear and it's brought everything back into my view now. Coming down slightly, we then have a patient drop down. Now at the moment you might see that although we can see the beds, we can't see which patients are in the beds. So if we needed to easily identify where a patient is currently located, select the patient name that you wish to find. You can see it just flashes that patient up on the board. That's the easiest way of locating your patient. What we also have is a selection of actions, and these actions do change depending on the bed that we are selected on. We are going to go into these actions in more detail later on in the videos. Coming to the right hand side of the screen, we can change the beds to be in a detailed view, which makes them larger, or a summary, which makes them smaller. I'm going to keep mine as a summary, but we do also have the ability to collapse the wards. This is often used by staff that are just needing to see an overall capacity of all of the wards within the hospital. So I might actually be viewing Bradford Royal Infirmary as a whole, and I just need a quick summary of how many beds are available. I'm just going to bring my beds back into my view. The final icon that we have here is a global search, and this allows us to search for specific patients, and it will search for their exact location anywhere within the hospital. At the top of the ward view, we have a utilisation status. So it gives a percentage of the utilisation, as well as a summary of how many beds are available, occupied and dirty, as well as the reserved beds, targeted and held. So the difference between reserved and targeted is reserved would mean that the patient is reserved into a specific bed, whereas targeted means that the patient has just been targeted to the ward, but then it gives the ward staff the ability to then reserve the bed themselves. So I can actually see that there is a patient currently assigned or targeted to this ward, so I need to assign them a bed. Coming down further, we then have the priority beds. Priority beds allows us to drag beds that may come available soon or may already be available. If I just demonstrate this. And this just keeps the available bed in the top of the screen, so it is an easy identifier for patients that might need a bed reserving. In terms of updating the statuses, we can actually see a drop-down arrow on the available beds only. So I can actually mark this bed dirty if I needed to, but I'm going to keep it as available. But in terms of understanding the bed statuses, you can actually use your filter at the top of the screen as a key. So if it is green with the letter A, this means that the bed is available. We also have occupied, which is the OC symbols. Pink means it is a female in that bed, and then blue is male. We also have dirty, cleaning, blocked, out of service, held and reserved. Looking at the end of the beds, we have a little symbol, which this one is black. If I just scroll down slightly, you can see that we also have pink, and I've got one here which is blue. This is actually identifying the gender of that specific bay. Blue is male, pink is female, black is a multi-gender bay, and you can actually see that we've got both females and males in this particular bay, so it's made it black. What we also have within the view is what is known as attributes, and this is the symbols that you can see on the bed in question. We have two different types of an attribute. We've got attributes that are assigned to the bed specifically. So if it needed to be an isolation bed, which is often what the side rooms are used for, this particular one is a patient attribute. So the bed attributes typically are grayed out, so that's how you can know the difference between them. This one is a patient attribute. So if I select the bed and hover over this, it actually tells me what the attribute is. In terms of adding these attributes, I will get into this in more detail later on in the videos. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions relating to any of the processes covered within this video, you can contact any member of the team on the email addresses provided. Alternatively, you can email epr.dqtraining@bthft.nhs.uk. This email account is monitored by the entire EPR training team and it is monitored daily.